Well, hello and welcome. I've got a really lovely guest for you here today. I'm going to be talking to Maria Schraml, who I met at a networking event recently, and immediately thought that it would be really great for her to share, for me to share a little bit of what she's doing with those of you in my audience, particularly those who've recently been diagnosed or are struggling with a neurodiversity and finding the amplification of perimenopause and menopause symptoms, making it a little bit harder to manage your life and business and such like. Maria, I think, can come in and help you with all of that. So I'm going to ask her to talk to you a little bit about herself, about what she does, how it can help, and then perhaps if she's got any top tips she could share with us before she leaves, that would be ideal. So welcome, Maria. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. So great to be here.
Oh, I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about your journey into, well, who you are, where you are, your what you're doing now, and what your journey has been. That's a lot of
Mhm.
questions at once. Let's see if we can both remember what all of those questions are, shall we?
Yeah, so I'm Maria. I'm originally from Germany, Bavaria. I moved to the UK in 2013. It was always a big dream of mine to live here. I think it's like my home of my soul. I always felt like it.
Oh.
And I've come from, so I'm working in operations and sales and project management for all my career.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I've got diagnosed with ADHD and autism last year with so 44, 45.
Mm.
After 2 years of thinking, oh, maybe not.
Mm.
I'm perimenopausal now officially for 5 years. I have
Mm.
started a little bit before 40, but as it is, you don't really get taken serious in that age as a,
Mm.
when you have
Yeah,
symptoms.
yeah.
And also single mum to a 7-year-old.
Mm.
So I'm now a single mom for nearly 4 years as well.
Wow.
And yeah, it came all together on the same
That's a
time. It
lot.
was
Yeah.
an absolute roller coaster. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've got a 7-year-old daughter who's also neurodivergent, as it comes.
Mm. It often is the case, isn't it?
Exactly. And I think how I came to, so my business is called NeuroWild Collective.
Mm.
Neurowild because for me it's all about rewilding your brain,
Yes.
deconditioning from the structures and expectations you get taught all your life, how to do things, how to approach,
Mm.
how to think, how to perform. And it's about rewilding them and deconditioning them from what I said,
Mm.
neurotypical way of doing things.
Yeah, I
Uh,
love that. I love this as is why I wanted you to come here. This idea of rewilding your brain, rewilding the world around us can create amazing transformations, and rewilding your brain feels like a really lovely way of approaching this.
yeah, exactly. And I always felt like that. And I created it as a collective because I want to create that community and village.
Mm.
So I've got other experts on with me as well, depending parenting, all sorts of different
Mm.
things. But for me, it's really like where how I got to it was being perimenopause or starting to believe perimenopause,
Yeah.
struggling with the symptoms, but was straight after the birth of my daughter. So I went from like birth to I had
Gosh.
postnatal depression and anxiety to then perimenopause
Hmm.
preparation as it comes because perimenopause is about like freeing your shackle from your shackles.
Absolutely.
And I knew that when I'm on my own with my daughter, I need to find something. I need to do things in a way I can feel I can survive because my biggest worry was being on my own. How am I going to deal with working full time,
Mm.
running a household, being there for my daughter, and realizing one of the biggest issue I had was brain fog and not being
Yeah.
able to think anymore. Like I used
Mm.
Excel sheets and processes and data, and I completely lost that ability. I
Mm.
gained other things. I'm better now with other stuff. I can catch a ball suddenly. What's
Yeah.
the exchange for losing data? I'm not sure if that's a good exchange, but I realized I need to do things differently.
Yeah.
when I
And in
moved in,
perimenopause, we know that our brain effectively gets rewired.
yeah.
Like it's that reversal of puberty, that's trimming down of the things we no longer need. So perhaps your brain thinks it doesn't need spreadsheets anymore, but catching a ball is very important. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
maybe.
Feels like an interesting trade-off, but there we go.
Yeah, I decided not to go professional into ball sport because of it. And it's just being aware then about my neurodivergency and learning about it, and then learning how the fluctuation of estrogen has an impact
Yeah.
on my, especially my ADHD, but also my autism, in the sense of that I just lost the ability to mask.
Yeah.
It's, and I'm more easier overwhelmed with things I was able to just hide, push down. And I was always wondering, why do I have like every 2 weeks this day where I just break down and can't talk to people? But the more I learned through assessments and then the trainings I had, I learned so much more understanding where it's coming from. And that just brought me all to NeuroWild. Because I looked then back and realized I always used to do things differently, but I got told, no, that's not how you do it.
Yeah.
You should do it this way. This is how you do your laundry. This is how you tidy up. This is how you keep your house good, or this is how you work. And I was just thinking to myself, it's like, but why? Why? Other than it being shown by my mum, who then also found out she's neurodivergent, there's no reason why I need to do a certain way. There's no checking how I do my laundry. Why do I need to struggle in this box I got put in? And how can I bring that in and create something for me, how my brain works?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I brought in like my experience from operations, implementing systems and change. And I found it quite funny that it's about rewilding your brain, but what it helps with, what you need for it is a good system.
Yeah. Now, what I'm hearing here, though, is curiosity, is that you were able to, and I think that's one of the things that can be an advantage to us in how we experience perimenopause, is where like you notice what's changing and you were curious about it. Why is it changing? And then extending that curiosity into what can I do about it? And then what you've done is layer on that the things that I'm learning about myself now, my past experience, I can bring that into this curiosity kind of cauldron that then makes your whole life experience better. And I love that approach, because I think curiosity around perimenopause for us as individuals, our own individual experience, is so valid. So I love this kind of way of thinking about it.
And I also didn't want it to accept that it's an illness or disability.
Yeah.
It's a change. It's a change we go through. It's the society what makes us not feeling properly. Yes, we've got the symptoms, but it's like, no, hang on a minute. I can still be amazing. I just need to tweak things.
Yeah.
And the same with being neurodivergent. I don't see it as a disability. Yes, it disables me in the society lives, but that's because how society is set up.
Yeah.
That's what disables me, not my different brain structure.
Yeah.
And I was always someone who tries to go, like I never took things as they are, and was always like, no, there must be a different way of doing things.
Yeah.
And that's how I then looked at, how do I do things? How can I change them? And how can I look at that thinking outside the box? I was always like, because I love nature, I love connecting with nature, and also about how does it fit with systems? But if you look at nature, it is a system. How everything, it looks like chaos, but it's there's a concept, there's a process, there's a structure, and a system.
There's so much interconnectivity. Like if you just that picture behind me here, of like this is a tree in winter, but there is a lot of going on under the ground that connects that tree to the grass, to the bushes, to the air, even in winter when it looks like everything's dormant. I think that's so like nature is a great big system of checks and balances and looking for ways to thrive, but not necessarily unlike humans, not necessarily at a cost to the other nature around it. Sometimes yes, but sometimes
exactly.
The balance.
And it's because that it has that system, it can bend with the wind, it can bend with the walls, it can grow in a way where if there's an obstacle, we grow around it. And it's that perfect balance of chaos and structure. And that's the kind of dance, what I realized I need that. I need the right
Mm.
process, the right structure, so I can dance and flow within my fluctuation
Yeah.
capacity, because each day looks different. You never know how you wake up, what kind of day it's going to be. You have some more exhausting days, some less exhausting days, especially as
Mm.
mums. You never know what's coming up. So how can I create a system what is flexible enough to work with this, but I'm still having that kind of regularity and structure and flow what I need in order to get out of that overwhelm and be able to
Mm.
thrive, and finding that balance of creating that kind of flexible, slightly chaotic but flowy system.
Yeah.
That makes me think. And that's what I developed then over the time.
Mm. I can absolutely see that. Can you, I wonder if you could give me an example of, like, could you give me like a small example of a system that you've set up that works for you? Because admittedly, I'm sure that you will, like, that will vary from person to person. Can you give me an example of a system that you've created? Or is that taking me into trade secrets? Because I don't want
No, absolutely not. Because it's exactly the thing. It is individual to everyone how those systems look like. It's a
to.
method in how developing those systems, but it's not a one system fits all.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite examples is laundry. I had
Mm.
that thing with floored robes. Everything was chaotic. I've
Yeah.
never found anything in my wardrobes.
Mm.
And it took me forever. And I had these things like it was the dirty laundry piled up, the clean laundry piled up. It was just everywhere. And I never had
Mm.
anything to wear. And I realized it's too many steps for me, because our ADHD brain gets overwhelmed with too many steps,
Yeah.
executive dysfunction. So I need to take them out. And then I looked at my whole thing of the process about how I do my laundry. So the first thing what I started is everything's on a hanger. The only thing I fold is socks and pants. They go in a thing. Everything else goes on a hanger, because it takes out like 4 steps already. And then
Okay.
so that was the first thing I've done, created that. And then I realized, okay, it's the kind of like putting in the wash machine and then hanging it up to dry. Then it hangs on the dryer forever. So I bought a tumble dryer.
Mm.
Everything goes in there. It costs a bit of extra, but I just save on the other side so I can afford the tumble dryer. And then everything goes through. And then I
Yeah.
had like those baskets everywhere, did my head in. So
Mm.
I bought those from Sainsbury's. You got those shopping bags, those
Mm.
forever bags, the big square ones. So
Yeah.
I use those for laundry because I can fold them away. They're gone. They're not in my way.
Yeah.
And now I'm able to just sort it in, wash it through, straight in the tumble dryer. And when I'm taking it out of the tumble dryer, it goes straight on the hanger or in my bum.
Okay.
So therefore, I don't have to think where it goes, how I fold it, what's the kind of
Mm.
thing. So I took out
So you
80%.
took out steps. Yeah, I like that. And then you add in the whole, you've taken out the steps of, like, I know, like, I've never had a tumble dryer, and it's always that. So is it going to be dry enough to hang the laundry outside, or will I have to bring it out in again? Or and if I hang it inside, have I got people coming round? Am I, can I cope with, because sometimes I can't cope with having laundry hanging up inside.
Oh,
Yeah, no,
exactly.
I like that. So it's just like going, okay, for me, what are my steps that would make this an easier process? And
Exactly.
as a single mum, when it's all your responsibility, your child's too young to help, perhaps, then it
Yeah.
makes it much easier. I love that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that example. It's really interesting. I can see how I could apply it and shift it to my preferences. But that taking out of steps, I like that. That sense of overwhelm. There's too much going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And also using, like, why is it always just a washing basket, a laundry basket, the only tool I'm allowed to use?
Mm.
Why am I not able? I can use the other bags or
Yeah.
another process or hanging it all up, because why do I have to fold them? It was
Yeah.
like my biggest pains of folding clothes.
Yeah.
And it's that kind of thinking, and that's what I coach or work with my clients.
Mm.
It's not like this is how you do laundry. It's like, how can we simplify things?
Yeah.
How
Okay.
can you bring it in your space so it works for your setup? Because every setup is different.
Yeah. So that brings us to the next part, is like, how do you work with your clients then? It was like, so obviously you've just explained it. So yeah, that's made my my question moot somewhat. But so you would generally, you'll work with somebody, will it be on domestic type projects particularly, or because I know that's definitely a real point of overwhelm for many women in midlife, with that sense of, but often, I mean, statistically women bear the brunt of the domestic load, of the mental load, and then it comes a point where perhaps with a neurodiversity making it harder to marks, perhaps just with exhaustion and brain fog, generally a meld of those two things. So there can be things that just like are like the straw that breaks the camel's back. So actually I can see how could get to overwhelm, but putting a process in would take you back down away from that. And you'd be less likely to have a row about the laundry every other week.
Exactly. It's like reducing the overwhelm in small little bits, because I realized I can't just change one massive thing in my life and then everything's great. I need to tweak every little thing. And then in a sum, I will save a lot of steps. And that's exactly what I do. So I work in a domestic setting and I work in a business setting. So I do the same concept but for entrepreneurs and how to create the business structures. But I always start at home because home needs to be a sanctuary, not a burden. So we look at home and see, okay, where are those areas where it causes the most overwhelm, draining energy, spoons, what costs me the most spoons, and how can we look at it? And I call it also like the de-shoulding, to get rid of, oh, I should do this, I should do it that way, I should do it like this way, I should have done it today. And it's one thing what I learned from my counselor, what's great is like rephrasing it is like, oh, could have done it, but I've done else, which shifts the blame. But also, how are we looking at and doing it? So I normally always start with the home. Where can we improve those? Where can we bring the sanctuary in, the relaxation, and taking the overwhelm? Then we have the energy for everything else.
Yeah, I love that. Like in my work, I will generally start when I work with women in perimenopause with nervous system regulation, because it's that sense of peace and space and safety that's so important when it comes to health transformation of any kind.
Absolutely. And it's always holistic, like especially when you run your own business, you're not a 9-to-5 person. But also when you're employed, you're not a 9-to-5 person. As a woman, you think about everything all the time.
Yes.
So like you said, we are normally responsible for most of us, so everything's on our plate. So where are the easy, quick wins in order to get that sorted? Sometimes I start with a system around remembering appointments and meetings and to-dos, because that would ease the system first, have that regulation in first, and then we look into the house. But it always starts with the home and the person, and we branch out into the different areas, because that's where we want to create that sanctuary.
Love that. And starting with the easy, quick wins then creates a bit of mental space for somebody who's in overwhelm as well. I love that. Do you have a specific package that you work with a client on, or do you just generally just kind of go with the flow with what the client needs?
So I always start with the intro call for an hour, where we just really lay out where are the areas where women struggle the most, where challenges, to get a really good picture. Who else is involved in the life? Is it a family? Are there other neurodivergent family members, for example? So getting a really good picture, and then to see, okay, where do we need to start? And how does it look like? I mean, I worked with clients who lived in a van, but they run a business. So there's not that much to do from a home setting, but more focused on the work. But then I also work with moms with 2 little kids, 3-bedroom house. We start then more there. And so I've got 2 packages: as NeuroWild at home and then NeuroWild at business. And they can be then combined or taken separately depending on where everyone sits. But I always start with like a free session where we just really look at that and understand where everyone's at. I can also support with like bringing the systems in, the programs, looking at access to work, what's the different kind of supports out there people can bring in.
Amazing.
And then from there.
It sounds really valuable and a really interesting approach, and I'm sure it will resonate with people who find these things a struggle. And then, as you say, there's that deep shoulding, there's a sense of shame, there's a sense of, well, everyone else seems to be on top of it, why am I? And it can kind of add to that dysregulation and add to that sense of, oh, I'm failing in some way, or what's wrong with me, which then, again, it's not a helpful place to be. So if how could people find you to get hold of you? I'll put your links in the comments below this video when it goes up on YouTube. But what's a good place for people to get hold of you?
So yeah, through my website. You
Mm.
put the link in. I'm on Instagram, on
Mm.
Facebook. So yeah, that's probably the best way to get hold of
Okay,
me.
great. Well, if you send me the links for that, I'll share them. And what might be a top tip or two? I mean, I'm filing the laundry thing away from me. But what might be a top tip or two that you could kind of give my fellow perimenopausal, menopausal life jugglers to pass on today?
I think the first one is just, I always find like the first one is to be gentle to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It is that there are their support and their solutions, and to look at it. And I personally always help the most when I was write it all, bring it all together, where the areas just struggle and just one little bit. Like I
Yeah.
said, the biggest thing for me was like I understood it's always just a one small change.
Mm.
So I started, so I'm quite techie. I love tech. So I've got Alexa. So I started just shouting my shopping list items to her. Therefore, I never forgot anything. And I
Yeah.
put timers and reminders on things. That's
Yeah.
like one really quick, easy thing
Yeah.
I've done for myself to outsource all of that brain load of managing
Mm.
reminders. And that's literally from like when the vet is due, when do I have to do shopping, when do you go the bins out, automizing out to someone who gives me the prompts and
Yeah.
therefore there. And that can be one of those really quick things. So like you said, with the
Okay.
bit by bit,
Mm.
always looking at like, okay, there's a small change you can do
Mm.
and look at it and change it bit by bit.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. And using tech in a way that actually can be
Yeah.
beneficial, not overwhelming. I love it. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Maria. It's been really amazing to talk to you and to find out a little bit more about how you do. As I said, I'll put the links below this video. It seems a bit random pointing, but I've done it now. And yeah, and then that people can get in touch with if you need to. If they've got any questions, then let me know. Yeah, really great to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
You're
Bye.
welcome. Bye.